14 hours. That's how long I'd been sat on the plane from London to Singapore, ignoring the additional 2-hour delay. I rushed into the arrival hall to see my parents waiting rather impatiently. Now, you can imagine, I've been on such a long flight, I'm tired, my thoughts are all muddled. So when my parents ask me, "How was your flight?" I instinctively reply, "Oh, the ground staff were taking the piss. We were stuck at that gate for 2 hours." My mum turns to look at me. "They were taking a piss?" she says, confused. That's when I realized. Of course my parents wouldn't know what that phrase meant. They've only ever been to the UK a few times. That instance was my first ever failure to code switch. Now, people have often tried to place where my accent is from in the UK. I've gotten London, Brighton, even the occasional Surrey. I hope this isn't incredibly offensive to the people who are actually from there. My dad works with ships, so I actually grew up across many different countries. Because I moved around so much when I was young, I naturally started to alter my accent to resemble that of the people around me. I've lived in India, Hong Kong, China, Singapore, and now I live in the UK. I went home to Singapore over December last year, and my day would go something like this. I'd head downstairs to the local food court and go, "Auntie, can I get the chicken rice? I don't want any soup. Tapao can, thank you." And then I'd head upstairs to see my mum sat on the sofa, and I'd go, "Mama, I actually just had dinner outside. I'm not very hungry, but I'll have the dal you made for lunch tomorrow." And then I'd get a phone call from my friend in Nottingham, and I'd pick up and I'd go, "Oh, hey, I've been meaning to ring you about the coursework due in a week." Sounds strange, doesn't it? Sounds as if I'm putting on a performance every time I change my accent. I see the shock on your face over there. As hard as it is to believe, this is mostly subconscious, and I can bet that most of you in this room do it too, more than you realize. This is called code switching. Now, before I continue, let me define what I mean by this term. Code switching, in the official sense, is the alternating between two or more languages in a conversation. But informally, it's so much more than that. It's the shifting between accents, dialects, languages, even your behavior based on the social situation that you're in. It's why you speak one way with your professor and another way with your best friend. This isn't just about accents, it's about social adaptability. So, is code switching a skill? Absolutely. But it can also become an expectation, and with that expectation comes very real consequences. The reality is, we don't exist in a vacuum, free from all the social associations that are tied to accents. Every accent carries meaning shaped by history, culture, identity. This is the first way that code switching can affect a person. Unfortunately, certain accents are still considered more competent or trustworthy. So I, like many of us here, subconsciously tone down my accent to dodge stereotypes. Because deep down, I know it increases my chances of being comprehended more easily or taken more seriously. With time, I've realized that the interaction with my parents at the airport was not a unique experience. I've seen my friends in the UK, some of them here, change the way they speak and behave based on the friend group they're interacting with. But code switching is not just about accents. It can seep into your appearance and cultural expression. This is the second way that code switching can affect a person. An Indian woman, like me, may straighten her hair or alter her tone of her voice to appear less intimidating in professional settings. A working class person will suppress their regional accent to avoid the stigma that comes with sounding a certain way. For many people, code switching is a survival tactic, a way to avoid prejudice and exclusion. The third way that code switching materializes is in a person's behavior. Studies have found that the subtle mirroring of the people around you is actually helping you foster these relationships. This is also known as the chameleon effect. It's when you unconsciously mimic the speech and mannerisms of someone else during a social interaction. The pressure to code switch can show up everywhere. You see it in job interviews, corporate meetings, even in your customer service interactions. there's almost an unspoken expectation to sound neutral, which really just means conforming to the dominant culture. But after a while, you start to think, do people even like me? Or do they just like the version of me that I've shown them? And that tension, that cognitive dissonance, is what makes code switching so mentally challenging. Now, let me ask the audience this. Have you ever heard a friend make a joke, and you make a mental note of it, and you go like, oh, that's a great joke, I'm going to save that for later? Yeah? I want to reframe the narrative. Is conforming to the dominant culture really such a bad thing? Assimilation into a new environment is already so tough, so why not make it easier on yourself by being better able to connect with the people around you? This doesn't mean you forget your heritage. You just add another layer to it. I know, I shouldn't have to, but truly, no one should have to change the way they speak and behave when they move away from their hometown. People do it so they can belong. I mean, imagine I was speaking to my friends at the pub, the way I'm speaking to you right now. They'd all think I'd lost my mind. We see code switching happening all around us. For example, transatlantic accents. It was famously used in early Hollywood and blended American and British accents together to create a universally relatable voice. In many ways, code switching is a reflection of our ability to adapt. Linguists and psychologists call it a cognitive survival skill, our brain's way of helping us fit in. Now, I know it can feel a bit like a performance, a little disingenuous because it doesn't feel like you, but you can be different things to different people. It's all still you. If you feel comfortable interacting with your mum and dad in a certain way, doesn't make that interaction any less authentic. Humans are innately complex beings. So code switching is a tool that helps us overcome this cultural disconnect. You make people feel at ease. You build rapport faster, and that's so powerful. In fact, people who code switch often have insane levels of social intelligence. Years of subconsciously studying your environments means that you can maneuver these social dynamics with remarkable ease. This is why I want to shift the conversation, because too often, code switching has been seen as a weakness, as it's artificial or embarrassing, but it's not. It's a superpower. Instead of seeing code switching as masking your personality, what if we saw it as showcasing different layers of it? View it as cultural pride, not cultural loss. Growing up, I was often told that changing my accent meant losing touch with my roots, and for years I was embarrassed, torn between having to preserve my heritage and the pressure to adapt. But the reality is, code switching is not a betrayal of who you are. It's an evolution towards who you want to become. We're building cultural bridges. Language is not just about communication, it's about connection. After the incident at the airport, my parents have been more wary of every time I change my accent. Even after 18 years in Singapore, my mum is still shocked when I switch to a Singlish accent in front of the uncle at the local convenience store. In an ideal world, it'd be so much more interesting if we could all just speak in a way that feels most natural to us. But the reality is, different environments instinctively bring out different versions of you. And honestly, I think that's really cool. I love being Indian, weaving Hindi and Bengali into my English conversations, switching around my W's and my V's. But I also love being Singaporean and speaking Singlish. And now, having lived in the UK, I love saying, "You all right?" followed by "cheers" to a cashier in a Tesco. The goal isn't to eliminate code switching, it's to eradicate the shame around it. In a world where Ryanair flights to Barcelona are £20, where people can travel so accessibly, the desire to fit in is so inherently human. As long as diverse cultures continue to thrive, code switching will continue to shape how we communicate. People ask me, "What is your real accent?" But honestly, I couldn't tell you. I'm still working on my Australian one, so stay tuned for that one. Code switching is what humans have been doing for years to integrate into new environments. It helps people bridge cultural gaps, connecting with people across different communities. So, the next time you find yourself changing your accent or adjusting your behavior, don't feel like it's making you inauthentic. Recognize it for what it is, a skill, a strength, an ability to navigate the world with empathy, intelligence, and perspective. Because code switching doesn't make you less. On the contrary, it makes you more connected, more adaptable, more resilient to an ever-changing world. And maybe, if we keep having these conversations, we'll get to a place where we don't need to switch at all. Thank you.